This class is part of the Lessons in Tanya project. More classes available at lessonsintanya.com. Major funding for this Tanya class is provided by the Mettel Corporation. Additional funding is provided by Tanya students like you. Lessons in Tanya. The Tanya of Rabbi Schneur Zalman of Liadi, taught by Rabbi Ben Zion Krasnianski. Tanya's text elucidated by Rabbi Yosef Weinberg.
Essay number 2, page 272. He says, examine the statement in Etz Chayim, Kabbalistic work, the teachings of the Arizal, written by his student, Rabbi Chaim Vital, Shaar HaNekudot, Shaar 8, chapter 6. And he writes there that there can be no turning of face to face except through mitzvot requiring action. What he says there is, it says when God created Adam and Chava, he created them both simultaneously, but he created them back to back. They weren't facing each other. They were back to back, like two faces. One half was male, and the other half was female. Man and woman, connected at the back. Then, during the operation, Hashem separated them, gave them each their own back, and now they can face each other face to face. Now man and woman could face each other face to face. Before that, they couldn't face each other. They were back to back. Everything that happens in the physical world is a symptom of what happens, the inner dynamics, what's happening in the spiritual world and the godly world. See, the reason why Adam and Chava were created, that they should share the same back, and they should be back to back, they shouldn't face each other, is because the kalipa, the negative energy, receives its sustenance from the back. Just like when you hate someone, you can't stand them, you don't want to look them in the face, but you have to deal with them. So you turn around and you throw them whatever they need. Here, take it. I don't want to see your face. I can't stand you. I hate you. But here, take. I have no choice. I have to deal with you. Take. And you give them exactly what they need, not one iota more than what's necessary. So the life energy, when God creates the world and sustains the world, God gives existence and life and energy. And so God gives holiness with his face. That's what he desires. That's what he wants. That's what he loves. That's what he likes. Humility, egolessness, goodness, kindness, genuineness, authenticity, sincerity. That's what he loves. That's what he likes. That's what he gives face to face. Arrogance, ego, distortion, exaggerated sense of I, and all the nonsense that comes with it, self-absorption, self-centeredness. This God despises and God hates arrogance. But he creates it, he sustains it, he allows for it because it's necessary. It's part of the drama of life. God needs it. In order to balance, every positive has to have a negative. Every plus has to have a minus, give us freedom of choice. So we have to have, so the forces of evil, the forces of negativity have to be sustained. It's part of the drama of life. There has to be a battle, there has to be a conflict, there are challenges, there are difficulties, and then we make the right choice, and the wise choice that makes the choice meaningful. If everything was so obvious that if you did good, you were immediately rewarded, and if you did something wrong, you were immediately whacked, of course everyone would do good. I mean, there wouldn't be any contest. But Hashem created a world in which things are not obvious. Evil appears to be strong and mighty and self-sufficient, self-sustaining, and the ways of the wicked are successful. So you have a choice. Should I choose righteousness, or should I choose evil? So Hashem, for that reason, and that reason alone, Hashem creates and sustains evil and negativity. But the energy that he gives, the evil and negativity, is like throwing it behind your back. I don't want to see your face. I can't stand you. I hate you. I despise you with every fiber of my being, every bone in my body. But I have no choice, because it's my choice. I want it to be evil, so I have to give you. But I'm only giving you enough to do your job. Not one iota more. That's why Hashem created Adam and Chava back to back. It's only one back. They share a back. So there's no room for the evil to grow. There's no room for it to gain any more energy than completely necessary. However, if they're facing face to face and they each have a back, now Chava has a back and Adam has a back. So now there's more opportunity for the evil to cling, to grow, and to gain even more energy. But once Adam and Chava are separated and Adam and Chava are working in the Garden of Eden and they're doing mitzvot, so that the mitzvot protect and contain the negative energy. It doesn't allow the negative energy to gain any more energy than the bare minimum. But before Adam and Chava were created, before Adam and Chava were really doing the work, there was this fear or this danger that evil will gain more energy, will grow and thrive and gain more energy than was allotted to it. And that's why Hashem minimized the danger, and therefore he made sure that it should only be back to back. They shouldn't be facing each other, it should be back to back. So there's only one back. As a matter of fact, all you can see is the face. So on both sides, all you saw was a face. The back was completely concealed. So there was no room to grow any weeds or to grow anything that doesn't belong there. Now you have face to face. Now I have two backs, and in the backs you can grow things that don't belong there. You can have warts on the back. You can have pimples on the back. You can have things that are not healthy and not part of a healthy organism, and that can increase the energy of the negative forces. But now Adam and Chava are there protecting through their service, through their mitzvot. That's how they protect, and they make sure to keep the keep the negative energy confined and limited. There has to be some negative energy, but it should be very confined and very limited. But before Adam and Chava were there to protect and to guard and to watch, there was this danger that the negativity would just flourish and grow. And that's why Hashem minimized that, and that's why they were back to back. So that's what the Etz Chayim says. Because once Adam and Chava were separated, and now it's really the only ones who can add energy to the klipa. It's only us. We are the only ones who can add energy, negative energy. If we do the right thing, then we starve the klipa. Klipa has no one to hold on to. There's nothing to grab onto. If we are robust and we are healthy, there's no room for disease or negativity to hold on to. You're so healthy and you're so vibrant and you're so alive and dynamic and energetic. There's no room. If we are weak, our immune systems are down, we're weak, we're not doing the mitzvah, or God forbid we're doing something wrong, we increase the energy. We add to the energy. Just to use a very simple analogy, it's like a city has to have a police force and a court system and judges and a whole system to penalize those who need to be penalized. There's a whole system of justice, of courts, of police, of jails. How big does the system have to be? Could be minimum. If everyone in town is law-abiding, and everyone is decent, and everyone is busy leading a productive life and wholesome, the police have nothing to do. They can twiddle their thumbs. They can be busy giving out car tickets all day. There's nothing else to do. There's no crimes, there's no murder, there's no rapes, there's no burglaries, there's nothing to do. The courts are quiet, the jails are empty. You can cut down. You have minimum. You need a sheriff, you need a policeman, you need a judge, but they're not busy. But if we commit crime, we blow up the whole system. Suddenly the police force has to grow, and suddenly you need more judges, and suddenly you need more jails, and you need more penalties handed out and punishments. So we create it, we sustain it, or we shrink it to the bare minimum. It could be a token. You can have a token policeman and a token, and you don't need anything. In the shtetl, I don't know if they had a policeman. The shtetl was violent-free. The biggest nincompoop was a nudnik, but that's about it. It wasn't a crime, and he didn't send him to jail for being a nudnik. But it was harmless. It was violence-free. There was no violence. So we create, or we sustain, or we shrink it. So it all depends on us. So once Adam and Chava were functional, then Hashem says, now it's in your hands. So now I'm not afraid. I'm giving you the tools that you can make sure that the klipa, the negative energy, will shrink and will just be the bare minimum. Just to be there, that's it. But you don't have to create it, sustain it, inflate it. It's up to you. You do mitzvot. You chop it up at its core. You do mitzvot. It has nowhere to nourish, nowhere to nash from. It has nothing to nash from. If you're robust and vibrant and healthy, there's no room for disease to take roots. Your body is too healthy. It just slides right out. It just has nothing to hold on to. But if you're weak, and you're not eating properly, and you're not exercising properly, and you're this and that and the other, and the whole system is weak, that's when all the parasites find place to hold on to, grab onto. So that's the back. The back is the least life. Where there's life, there's no room for them to grab onto. But the back, which is the least life, and it's just the skin, and it's just the least life, that's where they can leech onto and grab onto, and that's where they start their growth. But it's up to us to keep ourselves robust, and through the mitzvot, we cut them off at the knee, chop them off at the knee, cut them off at the knee, and we just make sure that there's no room for growth. Okay. That's basically what the Etz Chayim says.
The text cited had previously discussed the stage of creation at which the bracket of 6 sefirot, known collectively as Zah.
Zah is the male, and Malchut is the female.
And the Sephira of Malchut were first emanated and revealed in the world of Atzilut from Chachma and Bina, their spiritual parents. Adam had not yet been created, and hence the avoda of fulfilling mitzvot did not yet exist. At this stage, if Zah and Malchut had united face to face, there would be an effusion of divine energy from the innermost aspect of Zah to the innermost aspect of Malchut. This, however, would enable the Klipot to receive more than their due share of life-giving influence from the source of holiness. The union was therefore merely back-to-back, i.e. only the external aspect of Zah was drawn down to Malchut. Only after Adam was created and performed mitzvot, effectively trimming and hacking off the thorns, i.e. limiting the nurture of Klipot, could Zah and Malchut be united face to face. In other words, divinity can be revealed within this world without any nurture being illegitimately diverted to the Klipot, only by means of mitzvah, whose performance entails an actual deed.
So he says, in the beginning, the fact that Adam and Chava were back to back, not facing each other, and shared the same back, it's because the divine male, which is Zah, the attributes, the emotional attributes, and the feminine, the female attribute, divine attribute, which is Malchut, which is enclosed in this world, and Zah is more removed from this world. they were also receiving their life sustenance back to back from their parents, which is the wisdom and understanding. They were receiving the most external aspect of wisdom and understanding. So it was like from back to back, from the external level of wisdom and understanding to the external level of Zah and Malchus. So it was a very limited energy, because Hashem did not want to draw down this deeper energy, this internal energy, because the fear was that the klippa would nash from this energy. Because where does the negative forces, negative energy get their life force from? From the more energy there is, that's what they go after. What are they attracted to? They're attracted to where there's energy, where there's life. You know, the food sitting on the shelves in the supermarket for years, and you'll never see a worm. They don't go to it because they're not attracted to it, because it's not food. They look like food, taste like food, but it's pure chemical garbage, not food. Anything that can sit on a shelf for months and years. What? Twinkies, right. Maybe it has 0.1% of some genuine ingredient buried there somewhere. Organic food doesn't last longer than a day or two or three. It rots very fast because it's real food. That's where the worms go after. You know, someone said, my grandmother said, I only eat food that worms eat. If worms don't eat it, they're smart enough. They know it's not food. They look like food, taste like food. Where does klippa go after? Where does the negative energy, where do they go after? They go after where there's energy, where there's holiness, where there's life. Life could only come from the source of life, Hashem, where there's an abundance of life. That's where they go after. They go after the Jew. The Jew is overflowing with holiness, with life. That's why they all attracted to the Jew. They have to get that energy, that life. So for Hashem, there would have been an overflow of energy, an abundance of energy, from the innermost aspect of wisdom and understanding to the innermost aspect of Zah and Malchus, like the equivalent of Adam and Chava. It would have been this abundance of energy that would have been flowing and revealed into this world, rivers of energy, and the klippa, the parasites would all gang up to try to get from that energy, gain and nash off that energy. That's why Hashem created, in the beginning, He created them back to back, which means that Adam and Chava, in the divine realm, were receiving their energy from the most external part. So it was a very limited energy. Limited energy, there's not too much to nash on. There's not too much to siphon off. There's not enough energy to siphon off. There's not very little in the first place. There's nothing extra to grab onto, to grab hold of. But once Adam and Chava, once Hashem separated them, He created them. He separated them at their creation. And they became the caretakers, and they did the work and the service in the Garden of Eden, kept the mitzvot. Now we can have this abundant flow of energy from the innermost aspect of wisdom and understanding to the innermost aspect of Zah and Malchut, of the masculine, divine masculine and divine feminine attributes. And even though now there are rivers and rivers of energy, there's an abundance of energy, and there is the danger that this energy will be siphoned off and utilized improperly to energize the negative. Yes, there is that danger, but now we have Adam and Chava who are guarding, who are protecting. They were in Gan Eden, La'avdil L'Shamra, to protect it precisely from this possibility, and make sure that this shouldn't happen. How do they protect it? Through mitzvot. By physically doing the mitzvah. By physically doing the mitzvah, the physical mitzvah, the deed, the action, physically doing the mitzvah, taking this world and doing a mitzvah with it. This is how you protect. And you cut them off at the knees. You cut off this mafia at the knees, and you stop this negative that it can't advance and it can't nash off or siphon off even one iota of this extra energy, abundant energy. And all this energy will go exclusively towards holiness, to enliven the holiness, and the klippa will just shrivel up and just be the bare minimum. Just like when Hashem created it, to just have the bare minimum, just to give us that freedom of choice just enough to be able to challenge us, but not anymore. So it shouldn't thrive and flourish.
The reason for this, as given there in Etz Chayim, is that by means of good deeds one brings about a supernal union causing Zal Malchut to turn face to face. Now, why only mitzvot involving action? Why can the same result not be brought about by mitzvot fulfilled by thought and speech?
So the Etz Chayim specifically says that this is only through mitzvot, physical mitzvot, that involve deed, physical. You have to physically do the mitzvah. Not thinking. Thought is not enough. Meditation is not enough. It has to be physical. The question is why? Why does it have to be physical? It should be through any mitzvah. A mitzvah that engages my mind, or a mitzvah that engages my thought. Why only the only way to stop the klipa is only through the physical mitzvah? Why is that?
This may be understood in the light of what is written in Etz Chayim, Shaar HaNekudot. But first, before the supernal union takes place, there must be an elevation of Mayan Nukvin, an arousal initiated by the recipient from the Nukva, the feminine element of Zav Yizbachut. And the Mayan Nukvin of Nukva is the state of action as explained there in chapter 1.
This is the analogy the Kabbalah uses. There's the feminine waters and the masculine waters, just like in a relationship. So first the male has to be seduced, she has to be interested. If she has no interest, nothing happens. She's interested, she has the power to awaken and arouse a response from within him, the masculine. So there's the feminine energy, that's an arousal from below, from the receiver, that awakens and instigates and awakens the masculine waters, the response from the male. So too, in order to awaken a divine response, there first has to be an arousal from below. What is the arousal from below? Action. Because the action involves the physical world. You're taking an esrog, which is a citrus fruit, something physical. You're taking a lulav, a palm branch, it's physical. You're taking matzah, it's wheat, it's physical. You're taking tefillin, it's leather hide. You have to take something of this physical world. When you take something of this physical world, a mezuzah, that's a parchment, you take something of the physical world and you do a mitzvah with it. You light a candle, a physical candle, you're doing something physical. You give tzedakah, you're taking a coin, doing something physical and helping someone, taking food and feeding someone. When you're doing something physical, you're taking something of this world. This has the power to stir up and to awaken a response. But if you don't involve the physical world, there's nothing. There's nothing from below, then there's no response from above. Because that's how Hashem created the world. Once He created Adam, before He created Adam, it was a one-way street. Hashem created the world on His own. There was no one there to arouse, to awaken Hashem. Hashem created it on His own. But once Adam was created, from that point on, everything has to start from here below. We are in the engine room. We are in the driver's seat. That's why Rosh Hashanah, when do we celebrate Rosh Hashanah? Not the first day of creation. Sixth day of creation. When Adam was created. Why? We're celebrating creation. It should be the first day. And what do we say in the prayers of Rosh Hashanah? Zeh hayom tchilat ma'asecha. This day, the sixth day, is the beginning of your action, beginning of your creation. The beginning is day number 6. What do you mean it's the beginning of creation? But what happened then at the beginning of creation, when Hashem on His own decided to create the world and wanted to create the world and had a desire to create the world, once Adam was created, in order to re-experience that same desire, in order to achieve that same desire, every year, the Hebrew word for year is shana, which comes from the word shoneh, every year repeats itself. So Hashem has to recreate that desire once again, desire and choose to create the world once again, all over again. That happens now on the 6th day of creation. What happened then on the first day of creation, God on His own did it. Now it's in our hands. It's up to us. We blow the shofar and we accept upon ourselves Hashem's sovereignty. We can awaken and arouse within Hashem the desire and the will to create a world, the pleasure to create a world. So it's all depends on us in this world, the physical. So it's only when we do something in the physical world That's the feminine waters. That could arouse and awaken a response from Hashem.
In other words, the things of this world, whose source is Sifriya of Malchut, which is the Nukva of Zah, must be elevated to the source in holiness. This can be accomplished only through mitzvot whose fulfillment requires actions performed with the maternal components of the world. This alone makes possible the supernal union which reveals divinity within this world. But how can it be ensured that no part of this revelation will leak to the Shikot, which has Kitzonim, literally extraneous forces? Good deeds are described as trimming and hacking off the thistles that attach themselves to the hind part, which is in the state of deed, as written in Etz Chayim. It is the performance of specifically these commandments that hacks away the klipot, which, like the unchecked roots of thistles or weeds in a vineyard, would otherwise encroach on the life-giving waters and divert them from the intended destination.
He says, in order to create a union between the male and the female, in order for there to be a new divine flow of energy, a new transmission from the male to the female. In other words, that there should be a new revelation of godliness in this world. Because this world was created through the divine feminine energy, the Shekhinah, which is enclosed in this world. So in order to reveal, there should be a new revelation of godliness in this world, which he calls a union, like of male and female, a new revelation, a birth, give birth to something new in this world. It's only when first there is the elevation of the feminine waters, also something from this world, something that was created in this world through the Shekhinah, through the divine feminine energy. So when we take something physical of this world and we do a mitzvah with it, this stirs and this instigates and this evokes a response, a powerful new flow of divine energy from the masculine divine aspect to the feminine divine aspect, and there's a new revelation in this world. But now that you have this new divine revelation in this world, you have this new abundant flow of energy, how do we protect and make sure that none of this energy is siphoned off and abused and misused to inflate the negative forces? How do we know, how do we keep it strictly flowing towards holiness? So he says that the actions, the good deeds, also act as a trimmer. They trim these like when you trim a tree, bushes, you have to trim the thorns, anything that can get in the way. Otherwise the thorns can take over the tree and all the life energy of the tree will go to grow the thorns and it'll kill the fruits. So you have to nip it in the bud. You have to cut it right at the source and cut it out and make sure that remove all foreign things that don't belong there. Make sure that everything flows properly. I want to make sure that there's no cancer growth and other types of growth. The only growth that's in the body is things that are wholesome and healthy and things that belong there, not anything that, God forbid, will just clog the system and destroy you. So the mitzvot also act as a hacking and a trimming. It cuts off and anything, all these thistles and all these extraneous things that try to attach themselves to the hind part.
This pruning is effected by elevating the element of good that is concealed in them in things of this world that are related to Asiyah, and that is enclosed in mitzvot of action. Elevating this element of good to its source, to the sanctity of Atzilut that has already been refined, the performance of practical mitzvot thus makes possible the purification and elevation of those physical things that are in need of this, by extracting the element of good that is within them and elevating it to holiness.
So by elevating the physical, elevating the good inside the physical. When you do a mitzvah with a physical object, you elevate it to its ultimate root, to the level, to its source, the level of Atzilut, which is only good. There's no room for anything negative. There's no room for any negative growth. When you clarify and you're able to separate the good from the bad, and you're able to take the good and reconnect it to its source of purity and holiness, then there's no room for the negative energy to, there's nowhere to hold on. They have nowhere to grab onto. Everything becomes pure and holy. It's very cryptic, very Kabbalistic, to say we understand electricity, no. But we know what electricity does. We know if you put your hand in your socket, you will get electrocuted, whether you understand it or not, whether you agree with it or not. The Kabbalah is telling us like it is, whether you understand or not, or agree 100%, it doesn't change the reality. These are the facts. When you do mitzvot, you're elevating the physical object, you're elevating all the good inside this physical object, the spark, you're elevating it back to its source, the level of Atzilut, which is 100% pure, clear, and there's no room for any negativity. So there's nowhere to grab onto. You don't even have Acharon, you don't even have the back to grab onto, because everything is 100%. When everything is 100%, it's 100%, that's it. It's only through mitzvot. Only mitzvot have the power to take something of this physical world, which is really dark and concealed and hidden and materialistic and dense, and to bring it back to the level of holiness, to the level of holiness of Atzilus, which is godly and 100% godly. Once you've taken this world and you clarify it and brought it back to its root and its source, and it's 100% godly, then there's no room. There's nothing to grab onto. There's nothing to hold onto. It's too slippery. The negativity has nothing to hold onto. It's been totally clarified and separated and elevated to its root, to its source. It could only grab onto through the back, when things are hidden, things are concealed, things are confused, things are not clear. Then it can hold on to it. When things are crystal clear and everything is clarified, once it's clarified, there's no room. There's no room for nonsense. There's no room for distortions. There's no room for negativity. There's no room. There's nothing to hold on to. Everything is crystal clear. So that's the power of the mitzvah, the physical mitzvah. By taking the physical, which is shredded in darkness and confusion. That's the nature of the physical world. It's hidden, it's concealed, it's dense, it's limited. And when you by doing a mitzvah with it, you elevate it to holiness, there's no more darkness, there's no more confusion. There's nothing to hold on to.
As to the statement there that Adam affected justification, tikkun is prepared as well, which would not appear to be a mitzvah requiring.
Here he said the only way to cut off, not to feed the negative energies through action, deeds, mitzvot, active mitzvot. When he says there that you can also accomplish this through prayer. Prayer is spiritual. Prayer substitutes sacrifices. Sacrifices are physical. Sacrifices are mitzvot. We don't have sacrifices today. All we have are prayers, which are purely spiritual. You said that we can accomplish it through spiritual.
This means that he did so through uttering the letters of speech, not through the intent of prayer, but by the actual deed involved. For the movement of one's lips is also being a deed.
So the Talmud says that speaking involves something physical. You're moving your lips. Your lips are physical. It's not thinking, you're not meditating, you don't fulfill the obligation of prayer by meditating and thinking. You have to move your lips and say, Shema Yisrael. You have to say the words. If you don't say the words, you have not fulfilled your obligation. Precisely, because it has to be physical. In order for prayer to be effective, in order for it to accomplish what it needs to accomplish, it has to be physical. So it's only when he says that through prayer you also accomplish the same thing. You cut off the life source or you limit the life source of the negative forces through prayer. He doesn't mean meditation, he means physically moving your lips.
For these utterances derive from the vivifying soul, which is in one's body and blood, whose root and life force is in Klipa Noga. As the Alter Rebbe explains in chapter 37 of Tanya, one's godly soul is incapable of uttering the words of Torah or prayer, which have to be sounded with the physical mouth, tongue, and teeth, except through the agency of the vivifying soul that is invested in the body. We see from the above that uttering the words of prayer can also elevate man from the nukva of asiya, just as is done by the practical mitzvah.
So he explains in chapter 37 that when you speak, where do you get the energy to speak? All the food that you ate. If you don't eat, you're too weak to speak. So if you have the energy to speak, that energy comes from all the food that you ate. So when you're moving your lips with the energy of all the food that you ate, you're elevating. All that food now is being elevated because it's that energy that's giving you the strength to speak. And that's the difference between speech and thought. Even if a person has no energy, people in the concentration camp, they didn't even have the energy to open the lips, to open their mouths. They were so drained within an ounce of their life. But you can still think. Because thought comes from your neshama. Your neshama is your neshama. It doesn't grow weaker. I have my neshama. But your body grows weak. When your body grows so weak, you don't have the strength to even move your lips, to even say a word. You can still think, but you can't speak. Because speech comes from external. Thought comes from within. Comes from within. But in order to achieve what the mitzvah has to achieve, it can only come from the external world. So if it's just thought, if it's just a mitzvah that involves your thought, if it's just pure thought and pure meditation without moving your lips, you're not involving the external world, you're not involving the material world. So you can't evoke a response from above. There's no elevation. There's nothing from below. You don't have the feminine waters that can evoke and inspire a response from above. So you can't draw down this energy. You can't affect that union between the masculine and the feminine to draw down a new energy, a new life force, a new energy, a new revelation. So thought doesn't accomplish anything. It's only through speech, when you physically move your lips, which comes from the energy and the strength from the external world, from the food that you're eating outside of yourself. When you physically move your lips, then you elevate the world. And that could affect, on high, that can evoke a powerful response. A new transmission, a new energy, a new revelation, a new union. You see, this is Alter Rebbe's notes that he wrote for himself. Very cryptic, very brief, very powerful points, bringing out the specialness of action, of the deed. Why in Judaism, unlike all other religions, that emphasize the heart. As long as you love, emphasize the idea, the consciousness, or the meditation, or the spirituality. Comes along Judaism and says, no, it's the action, it's the deed. That's what matters most. That's what makes all the difference. This is what creates the change. This is what creates the union. This is what draws down new energy. This is what creates new realities, and this is what protects us also. Protects us from this new energy, this new flow of energy being diverted in any negative way. That all this energy should flow 100% towards holiness. The Klippa only gets its energy from the back. Paro. We start reading about Paro in this week's Torah portion. Paro, if you turn the letters around, it's Orif, the back. Paro could only get his life force from the back. The negative energies can only get its life flow from the back. If a Jew faces Hashem with his back, like the Navi complains, the prophet complains in the name of Hashem, Panu Elai, the Jewish people turn to me, Orif, with their back. It seems like a contradiction in terms. They're turning to me, but with their back. Meaning, they're turning to me. They're doing what I'm asking of them. They're doing the right thing, but with their back. There's no interest. There's no desire. There's no love. It's like a duty, an obligation. Something I have to do. I have to pay income taxes. I got to take care of my duties, my responsibilities. I'm reliable. I'll take care of my duties. I'm not going to go to jail. But that's about it. But Hashem says they're turning to me. They're doing everything I'm asking them to do, but they're turning their backs to me, not their face. They're not interested. They don't really care. They have no real interest. It's like an obligation, not a joy and a pleasure. So they're turning to me, but they're turning to me with their back. When a Jew turns to Hashem with his back, we empower the paro. We empower the negative forces, the negative energy. That's where the negative energy gets all its life from, the back. If a Jew would face and turn to Hashem with his face to face, there wouldn't be any, there's no place for the negativity to grab hold of. There's nowhere to hold on to. So we allow for all that negativity because we turn our back to Hashem. And it's up to us. We turn our face to Hashem. Then Klippa would wither away. It would have nowhere to grab onto. The Rebbe says in Tanya, what was plan A? What was Hashem's plan A? How do we bring Mashiach? If every Jew in the world fulfilled the 613 mitzvot, if every Jew in the world would think like a Jew, speak like a Jew, and act like a Jew 24/7, then the negative energy would have nowhere to grab onto. They have nowhere to grab onto. It would wither away. It would die. Finished. That would be the end of negativity, the end of klippa, the end of darkness, the end of chaos, the end of confusion. And the world would be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, and Mashiach would come. The world would be flooded with holiness, wholesomeness. So we empower. When we turn our back to Hashem, we empower all this negativity, all this confusion, all this darkness and distortion and crooked thinking, because we don't have clarity. If we had clarity and strength and action to back it up, it's a winning combination. Nothing would stop us. Nothing could stop us. Mashiach comes in the second. Hayoim l'aseiso. I come today. Famous story in the Gemara, in the Talmud, Rabbi Shmuel Levi. He met Mashiach. He asked, when are you coming? He says, today. The day passed and he didn't come. Next time he sees him, Mashiach, you lied to me. You said today, Hayoim. So Mashiach said, yes. I quoted to you the verse. The verse says, Hayoim l'aseiso. Today, when you act, if you do the mitzvot, Hayoim im b'koilo sishmo. If you will listen to my voice, then I would come. I would come right away. There's nothing stopping us. If we listen to Hashem's voice, and we follow the Torah, and we follow the mitzvah, and we did it face to face. Our heart was in it. Our mind was focused and concentrated. This is our desire, our pleasure. This is who we really are. This is what we really want, truly desire and truly want. Negativity would shrivel up in a second. It has nothing to hold on to. As it is, it's a bubble. That's all it is. It's fake news. It's fake reality. There's no reality to it. It's a bubble. What happened to communism? Poof, as if it never happened. Millions of people believed in it. Hundreds of millions of people, tens of millions of people died for it. As if it never happened. As if it was a cosmic joke. What happened to fascism? As if it never happened. All these falsisms. Poof. Gone. It's a bubble. It's fake news. It's fake reality. There's no reality to it. We empower it. When we are not thinking like a Jew, speaking like a Jew, acting like a Jew, and even if we are turning to Hashem, but we turn to Hashem with our back, it's not genuine, it's not sincere, it's not heartfelt, it's not whole. Then we empower this bubble. But it's very easy to pop the bubble. That's all it is a bubble. There's no substance. There's no reality to it. It's delusions. It's a Hollywood hype. Madison Avenue hype. Nothing. Nothing there. So it's really in our hands. That's what he says. Hashem says it's in Adam and Chava's hands, in your hands. If you're doing the mitzvot, the world can overflow with energy and life and blessings and abundance of energy. And I'm not afraid that this energy will be dissipated. But if we don't guard ourselves, then Hashem says, wait a minute. I can't give you all these blessings because it's going to make you arrogant. And all this energy is just going to go to waste. And not only will it go to waste, it'll be counterproductive. It'll make you arrogant. All these blessings will just make you arrogant. Impossible. All you're going to do is empower this bubble, this inflated. So there's a risk to give a surge of energy and a surge of blessings and a surge of powerful energies, new flow, new blessings, new life. Have to make sure you can guard it, that you're going to channel it in the right way, that all of it is going to be used in a wholesome way, 100%. If you turn to me with your face to face, and you turn to me, and we do the mitzvot, the physical mitzvot, we act and speak properly and do the mitzvot, then this will guarantee. This will cause the flow of energy, and this will guarantee, will cut out, prune all the weeds and all the thistles and the thorns, and all. There won't be any place to grab onto. To be continued.
This class is part of the Lessons in Tanya project. More classes available at lessonsintanya.com.